The science of sound. How our brains are hacked. A door closes somewhere behind you. Not violently, not loudly, just a small click. And yet, before you consciously recognize it, something inside your nervous system has already responded. Tiny muscles in your ears adjust. Neurons fire. Ancient circuits buried deep within the brain begin comparing that sound against millions of years of evolutionary memory. Safe, unsafe, ignore, investigate. You never chose to perform any of this analysis. It happened anyway, because long before sound became music, language, or entertainment, it was survival. And even now, in a world of smartphones, satellites, and artificial intelligence, the human brain still treats sound as something far more powerful than information. It treats it as a prediction, a warning, a command, a force capable of changing behavior before thought ever arrives. Most people believe they hear the world. That is not what happens. What we call hearing is actually interpretation, a continuous act of prediction performed by nearly 100 billion neurons, attempting to guess the meaning of invisible vibrations moving through the air. The sound itself is only the beginning. The experience exists inside the brain, and that distinction changes everything. Because once researchers began looking closely, they discovered something unsettling. The brain does not merely receive sound, it can be manipulated by it. Not metaphorically, literally. A particular sequence of frequencies can accelerate your heartbeat. Another can trigger memories you believed were forgotten. Certain rhythms can synchronize entire crowds. Some sounds can increase trust. Others can heighten aggression. A few can even alter your perception of time. The implications stretch far beyond music. They reach into politics, advertising, religion, war, and perhaps most disturbingly, into the hidden architecture of everyday reality. Because sound is one of the few forces capable of entering the mind without permission, and it has been shaping human behavior for far longer than civilization itself. Imagine a forest nearly 2 million years ago. The trees are motionless, the air is heavy. An early human ancestor moves carefully through the undergrowth. Vision is limited. The landscape disappears behind vegetation. Predators remain unseen, but sound travels. A twig snaps. A rustle emerges from somewhere beyond sight. In that instant, survival depends not on what can be seen, but on what can be heard. Evolution rewarded those who reacted first, not those who reacted accurately. This distinction matters, because natural selection was never interested in truth. It was interested in survival. If a shadow might be a predator, assuming danger is safer than assuming safety. If a strange sound might signal attack, responding immediately is wiser than waiting for confirmation. Over countless generations, nervous systems became biased toward caution, toward anticipation, toward false alarms. And so the human auditory system evolved into something extraordinary, a threat detector disguised as a sensory organ. Researchers studying the brain noticed something peculiar. Visual information travels through several processing stages before emotional centers become involved. Sound often takes a shortcut. Certain auditory signals can reach regions associated with fear and survival before conscious awareness fully catches up. The reaction begins first. Understanding arrives later. This is why a sudden bang can make your body jump before you know what caused it. Why a scream in the night feels different from a scream on a movie screen. Why certain sounds seem to bypass thought entirely. The brain is not waiting for your permission. It is already making decisions. Most people assume this ancient system belongs to the distant past, a relic from an age of predators and uncertainty. But modern civilization did not eliminate those mechanisms. It inherited them and then learned how to exploit them. Walk through a city. Listen carefully, not to the conversations, to the engineered environment surrounding them. The chime of an elevator, the notification tone of a smartphone, the warning beep of a vehicle, the sound marking a completed transaction, the audio logo at the end of a commercial. None of these sounds exist by accident. Each one was designed, tested, refined, selected because it produces a predictable neurological response. Researchers discovered that even brief sounds can influence decision-making in ways people rarely notice. Certain frequencies create feelings of urgency. Certain patterns increase attention. Certain combinations produce familiarity after surprisingly few repetitions. The brain begins forming associations almost immediately. The sound becomes linked to emotion. The emotion becomes linked to behavior. Eventually, the sound itself becomes enough. No reasoning required. No conscious persuasion necessary. A simple tone, a subtle cue, a microscopic nudge in the machinery of thought. What appears to be choice may already have been influenced. And this phenomenon becomes even stranger when music enters the story. Most people think music is entertainment. That is not what music began as. Long before concert halls existed, rhythm was coordinating human movement, synchronizing labor, strengthening social bonds, creating collective identity. Archaeological evidence suggests that music emerged deep within humanity's prehistory, long before written language appeared. Scientists still debate exactly why. But one possibility continues to fascinate researchers. Music may have evolved because it allowed separate brains to function as a temporary collective system. A group moving together, breathing together, feeling together. Not as individuals, but as something larger. This is why marching soldiers move in rhythm. Why crowds chant. Why ceremonies rely on drums. Why stadiums erupt into synchronized waves of sound. The brain possesses an extraordinary tendency to align itself with external rhythms. Researchers call this entrainment, but the word hardly captures the experience. A better description might be surrender, because once synchronization begins, individual perception starts to change. Time feels different. Identity feels different. Even emotion becomes contagious. The boundaries separating one mind from another grow unexpectedly thin. And here the story takes a darker turn, because any force capable of uniting people can also control them. History is filled with examples: political rallies, military parades, religious ceremonies, mass movements driven by voices, chants, drums, horns, bells, and songs. Again and again, sound appears not merely as communication, but as coordination. A technology older than technology itself. A mechanism capable of shaping collective behavior at enormous scales. The frightening part is not that this works. The frightening part is how natural it feels when it does. Because the brain evolved to follow patterns, to trust rhythm, to respond before reflection. And beneath all the sophistication of modern civilization, those ancient instincts remain alive. Listening, waiting, responding. The world often feels visual. Screens dominate attention. Images define culture. But beneath the surface, another force continues operating quietly, invisible, persistent. Every spoken word, every notification, every song, every whisper, every siren in the distance. Each one enters a nervous system built by evolution, modified by culture, and shaped by experiences stretching back through an entire lifetime. And somewhere inside that immense biological network, reality is being interpreted, edited, predicted, constructed, not from what exists, but from what the brain believes exists, which raises a disturbing possibility. Perhaps sound is not merely something we hear. Perhaps it is something that helps create the world we experience, because the vibrations passing through the air are only physical events. The fear, the memory, the meaning, the identity, the reality itself, those emerge inside the mind. And if sound can influence that process, then every human being is living inside an invisible architecture built partly from vibrations, a structure so familiar that it becomes impossible to notice. Like water surrounding a fish, like gravity beneath every step, like a voice speaking quietly in a room you thought was silent. And the deeper scientists investigate the relationship between sound and consciousness, the stranger the picture becomes. Because they are beginning to discover that hearing may not simply reveal reality, it may participate in creating it. Like and subscribe. See you in the next.